Those of you that are parents and have minor children living at home, do you know where they're at? Do you know what they're doing? Do you know if they've spent the last 5 hours scrolling the internet? I ask this question because it seems that a parent or some parents recently sued Facebook, Meta, and I'm not against that at all. They deserve it. But they also included other sites, YouTube being one of them, because they said that the internet today is sucking their children in and making their children addicted to it. And Rob the Maritimer, he did a video where he did a really great analysis of the pros and cons. And I'll put a link down below to his video. I don't want to readdress all of that, but I just kind of want to say a little bit of what I put in a comment on his video, because it's been bugging me. And the reason it's been bugging me is because, well, my comment was, the very first thing I said was, where's the parents? You know, we live in a society where the parents think, well, when my kid does something wrong, I'll just blame it on the internet. I'll blame it on society. I'll blame it on Trump. I'll blame it on someone else, instead of standing up and saying, my kid, my responsibility. That's right. When you have a minor child, they're your responsibility. Now, everybody knows that, but these parents seem to think that they should be allowed to just sue willy-nilly and have some, as far as I'm concerned, a made-up problem. Now, I know people get tired of hearing that back in my day, but when I was growing up, our parents didn't know where we were half the time. The world was a different place. We were sent outside to play in the summertime and the wintertime too, half the time. And we weren't allowed back in the house until dark. It's just the way it was. Talk to any baby boomer and they'll pretty much tell you the same thing. You were locked out of the house. If you wanted a drink of water, there's a garden hose over there. Make sure you shut it off when you're done. So I know my parents didn't know where I was all the time. But the world has changed. And since my neighborhood, my folks trusted the neighbors. And so as long as I'm just riding my bike around the neighborhood, they felt safe letting me go do that. The internet is not a safe neighborhood, first of all. Second, all this screen time, instead of being out in nature. Now, I'm not a nature kind of guy. I like my air conditioning. I like my heat in the winter. I don't like sweating, and I don't like getting dirty. Yes, and I worked at the steel mill, in one of the dirtiest parts of the steel mill. But that's a different story for a different day, and for a different rant from Grandpa. But it bugs me that parents think they can just not only blame Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever it all is, but sue them. You know, I had a doctor try to knock a kidney stone from a 9, and he couldn't get it any further than a 5. And he told my wife, I tried my best. I couldn't get it broken up any smaller than a 5. I couldn't risk going any further for damaging his kidney, his muscle, whatever he had to send that wave through to break it up. But when I came to, she told me this, and I thought, well, kind of sad that he thinks I would sue him. He wasn't afraid of hurting the muscle as much as he was afraid of being sued for making a mistake. Now, the man's doing the best he can for me, and I'm going to sue him? I don't think so. But yeah, he definitely did damage. But I'm not going to sue. The man did the best he could. You know, they call it practicing medicine for a reason. They wouldn't let me say I was practicing construction. The judge would have said, well, you'll get more practice when you rip all that out and build it the right way. No, we didn't get that excuse. We had to be perfect every time. But I understand the human body is different, not like nailing 2x4s together to build a wall for a home. So that's fine. But let's get back to these parents that shirk their responsibility and try to shove it off on these huge corporations. Now, I'm not going to lose any sleep over most of these corporations being sued. That's not the point. And YouTube, I kind of feel like they've kind of set themselves up for this type of lawsuit because they've created an algorithm that knows everything you see, you hear, you say. It knows you better than you know yourself. It honestly knows your viewing patterns better than you do. So the algorithm no longer looks at my videos and say, we're going to put it out there, let people decide on their own. No, 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 no. The new algorithm looks for viewers that want my content. So if I haven't created my content to be so sugary sweet, something that viewers just can't get enough of, YouTube's not going to push it because they're looking for something that the viewer will watch and just get hooked on. And it has to be instant success and then hooked on it. So they kind of created an atmosphere that's really ripe for these kinds of problems because it's like feeding an addict their addiction, or rather, it's the drug that the addict is addicted to that you keep moving and they keep chasing after it. But even so, they shouldn't be sued, not in my opinion. I think it's a bad practice, but I'm just a little fish. I'm not even a minnow in the ocean to YouTube. But I still don't think they should be sued over it. The parent needs to take control and just stop it. They're right there, or they're supposed to be. They should stop it on their own. They shouldn't have to have lawyers involved. Boy, the lawyers, once they get involved, everything turns to crap. But the lawyers make a lot of money at it. So I guess there is an upside. The lawyers get their second home, their cottage at the lake, their cabin in the mountains. They get all of that, while you and I don't get our videos shown because YouTube is too afraid now to show anybody anything because they'll be sued. You see, it's a snowball effect. One person wins a lawsuit, and all of a sudden, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 others come out of the woodwork and say, wait a minute, my kid was hurt too. When the real question should be asked is, where were you when your kid was being hurt by this? Where were the parents? Now, if the judge is going to award money for this, it needs to be awarded to the child. And the money can be spent for, I don't know, psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever they call themselves, that are going to deal with the problem of basically somebody that's addicted to these videos and how to shut it off. I don't know what you would call someone like that. Well, I kind of know, but I don't really want to say here. But my point is, the money should go into a fund to pay for the treatment of the child that was injured. And then when the child is 21 or 25, depending how the psychologist, is he equipped at 21 to handle the money? If not, then it should be 25. And then the money is given to the child, not the parents. You see, you shouldn't reward somebody for not doing a job. The parents didn't do their job. Their child became addicted to watching videos, one video after another, as fast as it pops up. They're just going to go all over clicking and staying online. Okay. If the judge gives them money for that, it should go to the child for the treatment, and then ultimately, at a certain stage, go to the child. The parents should not be rewarded by 1 cent because they were also guilty of not doing their job. Now, I know this sounds like an old man rant, and Grandpa Chuck, you don't do these kind of videos. I don't. But there comes a time when you just have to say, enough is enough. How much are we going to let these stupid, frivolous lawsuits just continue on? I mean, oh my goodness. Talk to any baby boomer, and based on today's standards, we should all be worth $500 million because the boomers put up with so much crap. 40, 50 kids in a classroom. How did I get proper education? I didn't. The state owes me money. That's right. They crammed us all into a classroom with one teacher, and there's no way that teacher, even half the time, they didn't even know my name. It was the kid on desk aisle 3, row desk 7. Can you answer that? They had no idea. Now, it's not their fault. They were put in a classroom, and then all of a sudden, the state didn't add more classrooms. They just decided, well, we're just going to pile more kids on that teacher. Now, I know there's areas where they didn't have that, the smaller communities, but where I grew up in Hammond, Indiana, and Crown Point and Cedar Lake, they had you crammed in like sardines. There were some classrooms, I didn't even have a desk or a chair. You just stood in the back. Where's my compensation? Life is hard. Sometimes you just got to suck it up and do the best you can. And you certainly don't need some judge saying, oh my goodness, this poor child was subjected to watching whatever stupid cartoons they were watching, one after another, popping up everywhere. The parent couldn't stop it. But YouTube did that. Google did that. Facebook did that. No, they didn't. The parent didn't do their job. And I have a prime example for this. When my grandson was 9 years old, sitting in the back seat behind his father, and we were going somewhere, we all piled into one SUV, and my grandson forgot his headphones, and he's playing some stupid game that's making obnoxious noise. Now, honestly, I noticed that the game was a little loud, but I don't get to see my grandson that much. So I was like, all right, he's having fun. And I was okay with that. My son was like, Daniel, you forgot your headset, so you don't get to have sound. Turn the sound off right now. You can play your game, but with the sound off. He didn't even lower it. He just kept playing. I want to say he got a second warning, but shortly after that second warning, in a move that can only be described as classic, he reached behind the seat, snatched that game out of his hand, turned it off, and shoved it under his seat and said, "You've lost it for a week." I was very proud of him. Not because he took the game away from my grandson, but because my grandson knew if you push it, it's going to get taken away. And my son didn't back down from that. Those are the rules in this house. When I tell you to do something, son, you do it. So what did my grandson do? Now, based on these lawsuits, I would assume he started kicking his feet and screaming, and it's not fair. No, no, not a bit. He knew he pushed it. He knew he wasn't listening. He could have played that game the rest of the day if he would have turned the volume off. But no, he pushed it. And he knew if you push Dad too far, you lose the game. So he never said a word. And he didn't say anything because he blamed himself for pushing his dad too far. Hey, I didn't raise him. My son did. I'm proud of both my son and my grandson. My grandson just took it like a man. Hey, I messed up. I got to pay the price. There was no, I'm going to sue the manufacturer of this game. They've addicted my son to it, so much so that he won't listen to me. No. It was just one move. Gone under my seat for a week. That's how you handle it. You set up some constraints that the children are under, and you only let them have so much screen time a day. That's it. The parents doing the parents' job. That makes life so much easier for the adults when the adult parents do their job. No lawsuits, no major corporations cracking down on people that don't have anything to do with it, but they're afraid if they don't crack down, they're going to get more lawsuits. Well, how about this? How about the people on YouTube and Facebook that follow the rules that are going to be adversely affected because of these lawsuits? Sue the people that are suing. That's a way to solve it. That way we all have all these attorneys becoming billionaires, and you and I, we never see a dime. And eventually, some other corporation will buy up Google or buy up YouTube or buy up Facebook because the profits won't be there anymore. And when the profits aren't there, these companies will close their doors. Now, it's not going to happen in my lifetime. So I'm not going to lose anything. It's going to happen in your lifetime. It's going to happen in these kids' lifetime whose parents aren't doing their job, but they expect you and I to pay for it. Well, I'm Grandpa Chuck, and that's how I feel about it. That's what I think, and I think I've talked long enough about it. So, thanks for watching, folks. And as always, be well, be safe, and be happy. Bye now.